What do you say, everybody? Welcome to our Sunday night call-in show with Kyle Henderson. I'm Mick Gillispie, and rat poison aside, we are finally here, the week that leads up to Alabama and Ole Miss, a battle for the West with all of those ranked teams in the SEC West. But who would have thought that this game between Alabama and Ole Miss would be so important as far as not only who is going to represent the West in the SEC championship, but also maybe the Heisman race as well. And we're going to take your calls tonight like we do every Sunday. So get ready to call in at 205-850-0883. First off, though, good to see you, Kyle. And we got a lot to talk about tonight, but I'm sure that you really want to dig deep into that game last night.
Oh, yeah, man. It was a
Kyle,
thriller.
And
it was a thriller. And I think, for those of you that stayed up for our post-game show after, we kind of highlighted the good and the bad, and most of it was good. I mean, I thought it was comical how the TV broadcast, they interviewed Saban at halftime, and he's like, got to play better in the second half. Well, Alabama comes away with a 63-14 victory, and Alabama now sailing into this game against Ole Miss. And, I think that there's so many storylines. I mean, people just wanted to talk about this game instead of the Southern Miss game, and now the Ole Miss game is here. Lane Kiffin is ready. He's been dreaming of this game every single year. This is his Christmas. He loves Alabama more than he loves Ole Miss. He loves he wants to be the next coach. And maybe not directly after Coach Saban, but the guy, because you never want to be the guy after the guy. But I think Kiffin, his goal is to one day be the Alabama football coach 1,000,000%. Do you agree with that, Mick?
yeah, I mean, he would love to have the Alabama job, but I just don't know that his personality would fit Tuscaloosa. I mean, maybe, I don't know, but he can certainly coach offense as good as anyone. So, yeah, I mean, I don't even know that you wouldn't want to be the guy after Nick Saban, because you would have so many great players. If you were ready to be that guy, I think that you could follow the success. But let me say this, Kyle.
Years, yeah.
Let me say this. For all of you that are listening, make sure you hit the thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the bell. And that when you hit the thumbs up, that's your way of saying roll tide to us and everyone out there as we talk tonight and get you ready for a big week leading up to Alabama and Ole Miss. All right, Kyle, you finish your thought there.
I was just going to say, I mean, I think you could certainly coast for a couple, seasons after Coach Saban leaves. But look, I mean, Coach Saban is really one of the only guys that I know is like reverse aging. I mean, everything he's about to be, 70. And my goodness, I mean, look at the picture on the left. That picture is from a recent game this season. I mean, that doesn't look like a 70-year-old man to me. So I think the longevity of Saban runs deep. I think he, still has a lot left in the tank. I know this is going to sound crazy to you, but someone close to the program, I think I told you this before, said that they don't even think Saban's reached his peak yet, which was crazy to me because, there's already a statue out in front of him at Bryant-Denny Stadium. But look, this game between Alabama and Ole Miss, I mean, there's so many storylines. We're going to have an action-packed week coming up. The tailgate show, we'll be at Innisfree again, and everybody's going to be talking about this game coming up.
Yeah, you just reminded me. I've got Chris Lowe lined up to join me on the tailgate show, or join us on the tailgate show this week. And no one knows both of these guys better than Chris Lowe. I mean, it's like he's got a great relationship with Lane Kiffin, and he's one of the few guys that really has Saban's trust. And so when he comes on, and I talked to him last week, and I'm like, I got to have you on this week because I can't wait to hear what his thoughts are about this matchup. And this could be the one. I mean, maybe this is the time that Alabama loses to one of, or at least Nick Saban loses to one of his former assistants. I just think there are so many different storylines leading into this game, but I'm going to kind of recap what I said last night, kind of my early thoughts on this one. And I'm going to give it to you, Kyle, from my gambling perspective. Right. And by the way, as you know, I'm red hot right now. I've won 6 out of the last 6 out of 8. Okay, so that's and you can go back and watch. They're all on the show. The only game I lost this week was Texas A&M and Arkansas, and wow, I mean, and I'll admit I was way off on that one. But just giving you forget about my connection with Alabama, looking at this matchup, we know what Alabama is on offense, and we know what Alabama is on defense, right? We know what Ole Miss is on offense, but we don't know what Ole Miss is on defense yet. They haven't been tested like Alabama will in Tuscaloosa on Saturday. And I really think that question mark is going to be answered with they're not very good. I know they've gotten off to a decent start this year. Look, they played an excellent first half against Louisville. We saw Tulane hang in there against Oklahoma, had a chance to win at the end. But what we're finding out is that Oklahoma and I'm going to throw Ohio State in the same mix, lost their legendary coaches, right? And now you're seeing the impact of not having those guys down the road, right? And you just said, hey, Lane Kiffin wants to be the next Alabama coach. I mean, he loves kind of, antagonizing, trolling Alabama. What we're seeing with Ohio State and Oklahoma is that Urban Meyer isn't at Ohio State anymore, and neither are his recruiting classes. Neither are the players that he coached. And it's the same thing. There's no Bob Stoops at Oklahoma anymore, right? And the further that you get away from those legendary coaches who are able to establish this environment of success, the harder it's going to be for these coaches that replace them to keep it going, right? And you're saying, hey, would Lane Kiffin want to be the guy after the guy? But it's exactly why I say you could do it. I mean, we saw it in Miami when they had their dynasty going back in the 2000s. Was it Larry Coker? He came in after, Butch Davis, had set the table for him with these amazing teams, and he got him one. And it was like, but eventually it just started going downhill. What was it? George Seifert, who came in, you're a 49ers guy, after the legendary coach. Help me out, Kyle. Who was that guy that set up the 49ers?
I mean, there was a bunch, but yeah, you're on the right track. So
right. And then he came in, right. And then, and he got it going, but couldn't maintain it. He wasn't and it's different in the NFL than college, but you get my point. Right. And so I look at this matchup and I see this Ole Miss defense that has question marks. I see an Alabama team that had problems against Florida in the second half of that game. And it came at the perfect time because I don't think that they're going to go into this one against Ole Miss, leaving anything on the table. They're not going to go into this game, not prepared. So I feel like the timing of that game and the way that it ended against Florida, and then Lane Kiffin and his troll comments and everything else is going to help Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, look, I have a graphic up on the screen right now. It kind of highlights, the last several games between these two teams. And if you see on the far right, I mean, look at the points, and it's kind of alluding to what you're talking about, is this defense for Ole Miss. I mean, people, always scratching their head recently about Alabama's defense. But I mean, look at these last scores. I mean, Alabama scored 63 last year, 63-48, 59 the year before that, 62 the year before that, 66 the year before that, 48. And then, you had those 2 years where 2015, 2014, where Ole Miss was able to win this game. Saban has said before, they've had some wild games in Oxford. They've had some wild games in Tuscaloosa against his team. I haven't even seen the total points for this game, but I figure, it's going to be over 70 or something like that. I mean, I think there's going to be a ton of points. I also generate a graphic kind of highlighting these two teams and kind of what they've done throughout the season. As you can see, Ole Miss averaging 52 points per game. Rushing yards per game, close to 300 with 11 touchdowns. Passing, very balanced team, 336 yards passing per game. Matt Corral, 66 and 96, 997 yards with 9 touchdowns. Also has 5 rushing touchdowns and 158 yards rushing. That's really interesting to me. Ely has 188 yards, and then their receiver has 339 yards, and then Sam Williams has 4 sacks. On the other side, you got Alabama, 46 points per game, averaging 151 rushing yards per game. I think, and I'd like to kind of talk about this more as kind of the running back room, because I think with Roydell Williams and Jace McClellan, and I know it was against Mississippi State, but it seemed like those running backs were really, having the hot hand, and it seemed like there was a lot more speed against Southern Miss. Again, I get it, Southern Miss. Passing wise, 313 yards, Bryce Young, 88 of 112. 1,000 yards, 1,100 yards, rather, 15 touchdowns, 1 interception. Brian Robinson, 208 yards with 2 touchdowns. Jamison Williams, 299 yards with 3 touchdowns. Henry To'oTo'o with 25 tackles.
Yeah, I'm looking at the odds right now, and it came out at 17.5. It's already down to 15.5. The over-under was 77.5, and it's down to 76.5. So you can tell where the money is right now. Ole Miss and the over, right? So it's and I guess that's what you would expect. I mean, Alabama could score 70 themselves. And I don't think that if you're Alabama, you get the opportunity to really build a big lead, you take your foot off of the gas. I mean, I just think that's kind of the way that it is right now. You know, there was a time where you got a big lead and then you just kind of took the air out of the football. But against these guys, I don't know that that's even an option. I mean, I think you got to just keep on scoring until they start running the ball and giving up.
You know what? One of the things, and we talked about this last night before we broke out on the Westgate Luxury postgame show. So I'm going to put some graphics on the screen, and I think this is really interesting because you look at this particular game right here against Florida, right? And you see that Florida was able to rack up a ton of yards against Alabama on the ground. Malik Davis, 86 yards. Emory Jones, 76 yards. Wright, 58 yards. Dameon Pierce, 24 yards with 2 touchdowns. So why do I bring that stat up? Well, last year between Ole Miss and Alabama, the numbers are really, I mean, look what Ole Miss did rushing the football last year against Alabama. I mean, this is really concerning. And I know that Kiffin is looking at that game film because they have the same defensive coordinator, which is Pete Golding, right? Look at Connor. He had 21 carries, 128 yards. Ely had 120 yards, and Matt Corral had 13 carries for 40 yards. So I think when you look to kind of the Florida game and all the things that went wrong, and remember when we pulled out the grades for Henry To'oTo'o and Christian Harris, those guys got to come with it. They have to come to play. They have to understand that this offense is designed to keep them off balance. And with Henry To'oTo'o, with him calling the defense, and I know he hasn't, he started off on a hot start, but he hasn't played the best, football in the last couple of weeks. So if I'm Lane Kiffin, I'm going right at Henry To'oTo'o. I'm going right at Christian Harris. I'm trying to take advantage of Alabama's vulnerabilities on defense.
I remember the Pro Football Focus grades for To'oTo'o when he was with Tennessee, and he did really solid against the run, but against the pass, he struggled. And I'm sure Lane Kiffin is going to try to attack that. But what I just feel like Alabama's defense will generate turnovers and sacks enough to keep Ole Miss off balance, enough to maybe turn the ball over a couple of times. I just don't think they're going to I don't think Alabama's going to take their foot off the gas when it comes to their offense. And I think they're just going to keep scoring. But I mean, I could be wrong, but I think that the Alabama, I think there's a big potential here for Alabama to destroy Ole Miss. They're going to have better players at most positions. Yeah, Lane Kiffin knows Alabama, but you know what? Nick Saban knows that Lane Kiffin knows him. And Bill O'Brien's not Steve Sarkisian. Like he's his own guy. And I know that Lane Kiffin knows the offense that Alabama runs because a lot of it was his offense. But this is the first time where it's not really going to be as much his offense just because Bill O'Brien's there and he's not part of that USC tree, So I mean, the advantage that we saw with Lane Kiffin last year, where it was like he was calling Nick Saban's plays for him, like it was like he was reading the signs. I think that it could potentially. I think that it'll be there, but I don't think that it'll be as apparent as it was last year. And he looks like an entirely different guy. Look at that picture. He looks like he's aged, Lane Kiffin, probably like 15 years since then. He's heavier now. He's got like this scruffy beard. Look at him. He's like a fresh-faced kid right there in that picture.
Well, I remember for SEC Media Day, somebody asked him about his weight. It was kind of weird. They were like, how much is his weight? He was like, dude, why are you asking me about my weight? He was like,
yeah.
I've never been asked that by another man. That's what he said. It was like,
low blow.
Yeah, he was like, that's kind of weird. He's like, the food in Mississippi is good. So, which I agree. I mean, once you get down south, you got to loosen up the waistline a little bit because the food is too good here. Like the grits and, I mean, like the shrimp and grits. I never had shrimp and grits before I came to Tuscaloosa.
Oh, it's delicious.
I went to a party one time, within the neighborhood, and this lady had this gourmet shrimp and grits. And I was like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. Someone's saying, look, this is ironic. So Beans and Cornbread is saying that he lost weight, but how ironic is that? The Beans and Cornbread, of course, only in the South would you have a username Beans and Cornbread. I love it. Thank you so much for posting. Let me run through these Pro Football Focus grades real quick from the game against Mississippi. Mick, why don't you fire up the call line? Maybe we'll get lucky and get Sean to call in, break this game down going into Ole Miss week. So let me
call line's up.
Cool. Okay, Sean, call in. You know what to do. Okay, so Pro Football Focus grades, in case you're new to the channel, hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. Pro Football Focus grades, I know a lot of people like to see them. I'll kind of explain how these work and kind of go through them from the offensive and defensive perspective. If you want to catch them more, go to BamaInsider.com. And let me know if you like the grades inside the comment box. I want to continue to get feedback if you guys like that. So, they're asking for the number. Can you put the number on the banner while I explain the Pro Football
Focus this? Boom.
Okay. All right. So, Sean, call a number at the bottom of the screen. There you go. Okay. So, Pro Football Focus is basically the grades of former NFL coaches, former college coaches, guys who played the game. They grade out every single game at the college level. We subscribe, we get the grades, and then we get a chance to look at them. So the player is obviously on the left, and then on the far right, that's their overall grade. Now, you have to think of this like anything over 85 is exceptional. So when you see grades of 90, that's like unbelievable, right? The guy just had an unbelievable game. 60, that's more like a C. That's not necessarily a D. So don't look at it kind of as, this isn't like class. Like this is their grading scale and how they've explained to us. Now, the total is in the middle of the screen. That's very important to know is the total, because that means the total of snaps that the player played. The more snaps that the player made, the better, results that we have and the more data that we have for the grades. So Chris Owens, as you can see at the right tackle position, again, doesn't have the best grade, 64.8. Bryce Young balled out, 49 total snaps, 94.2 grade out. Other grade outs, I'll just kind of fly by this real quick. Evan Neal, 63.5. That is concerning. I like to kind of rewatch the tape and see why he was graded out so low. I think that's his lowest grade of the year. Darren Dalcourt, 59.4 at the center position. He's a guy who hasn't really graded out that well this year. Same with Emil Ekiyor. What do those guys have in common? They're all members of the Alabama offensive line. Jamison Williams, 61.5. And you're like, what? He had, almost 300 yards. Well, most of that was on the kick return. He also did have a drop. And that's one thing that I'm kind of keeping my eye on with Jamison Williams yes, he is a very dynamic player, probably the most explosive player on Alabama's offense, but I've seen him drop a couple passes. So let's continue to keep an eye on that. Jaleel Billingsley, 79.9. Jace McClellan, 75.9. And then Cam Latu had a wonderful game, 96.7, even just hopped on a football. So those are the Pro Football Focus grades on the offensive side. I'll run through the defensive side real quick. Again, these are from Pro Football Focus. Up at the top, you got Jordan Battle, 70.2. And then you have Josh Jobe, 65.8, another pass interference penalty. I guess I should tally up the number of pass interference penalties that Josh Jobe has had this season. It seems like a lot to me. Jalen Armour Davis, 68.5. Guys who graded out really well. Chris Braswell down at the bottom, 82.5 and just 25 snaps. And then you also have Christian Harris, 78.8. That's promising, being that, he's got to get ready for a big game. Drew Sanders hasn't graded out that high, 60.8. And other guys who stood out, DeMarco Helms, it looks like 77.6. So just a little sample of the Pro Football Focus grades. I always like to throw those on the screen just for people to kind of get a little bit of an understanding. Are those grades perfect? No, but I mean, we're not grading the players ourselves, so it's fun data to look at.
Yeah, no doubt. Are you ready to take some calls?
Yeah, I mean, and look, this is viewer discretion is advised. Last week we had a little bit of technical difficulties. The guest couldn't hear me. So if we run into that problem, Mick's just gonna talk to the guest, and then I'll kind of fade away, and then I'll come back. And I actually have a pizza coming, so I'm looking for outside the window because we're gonna watch the 49ers and the Packers game here in a little while. So I'm gonna keep my eye on the pizza. We'll take the calls, and then we'll continue to have a good time right here on Bama Insider.
All right. Well, let's go. And guys, what we'll do is we'll take these calls and we'll try to keep them short just to get everyone in. But who's this and where are you calling from? Hey, what's up?
It's really low, Mick. I can't hear the guest. Hey Mick, it's too low. I can't hear what he's saying. All right, be patient, fam. We're gonna work out these technical difficulties. I know, no sound. Continuing.
Yeah, just say, Kyle. I think everybody else can hear it, but you.
No, he's saying no sound. Ellis. So, I mean, so probably a new system, or whatever. So, while we work on that, I guess we'll continue to kind of break it down with you until we get these call lines figured out. So, yeah, Gelato's saying no sound as well. So, Mick, I don't know if you switched up or whatever's going on. So.
I'm not sure what the deal is. Hey, hold your question right there. I'm going to put you on hold. I got to try to figure out a way to get where they can hear you because they obviously can't hear you. But you asked a great question. So, Kyle, you talk. Let me mess with this again.
Okay.
Because I can hear it fine in my headset. I don't know why they can't hear it. That's
worst comes to worst. I'll use the call in. I'll try to switch over the calls. So why don't you take well, they're saying they can hear now, but you couldn't hear the caller. Right? They couldn't hear the caller. I think that was the issue. Okay. Anyways.
Can you guys hear the call or not?
We couldn't hear the call when he came in.
No one could hear it.
Mm-mm.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, Kyle, look at the Pro Football Focus. I'm going to try something. I'm going to bounce out and then come right back. And then you grab your pizza. Right.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah. So while we work on that, drop your comments inside the comment box. I'll continue to, field your questions. This is Sunday Night Live on Bama Insider. This is a live show. So we do, we do run into issues. I know we ran into issues last time. So think about it from our perspective. We're just pretty much normal guys running a, Alabama football show. And then we started messing around with the call-in show. So, technical issues happen, as you know. So anyways, hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. We appreciate you guys being here. Last night we were at Westgate Luxury Condos recapping Alabama versus Southern Miss. I mean, a game that really got off the rails early. I wasn't really surprised in the fact that Alabama was able to, really jump on board, of Southern Miss and really dominate. The one thing that I've really been impressed with is the continued play of Bryce Young. I think that I'd like to show the Alabama football stats kind of in total on the screen because I think it really paints a good picture to how good this team is and, kind of the overall direction of, this offense under Bill O'Brien. I think that Bill O'Brien coming in, a lot of people had, I don't know, maybe reservations or whatever about Bill O'Brien, but I think he's done a really good job so far. And let's kind of dive into these stats together and look at Alabama's statistical performances through their first 4 games. And as you can see, look, I didn't generate these stats. As you can see, it says loss against Southern Miss. I didn't do that. These are sent in from the university. Clearly, maybe the score wasn't final or something like that. I have no idea. So, but as you can see, Alabama off to a great start up top, scoring 46.5 points a game. But let's get to the individual statistics because I want to point out a couple things on Bryce Young. And when you look at Bryce Young and kind of the quarterback play, 88 of 122 with 1 interception. If you watch the post-game show, we piped in Bryce Young's press conference, and he talked about that he felt that the interception was on him. Clearly, it wasn't. I think it was on Jameson Williams. Anytime the football hits you right in the numbers, you're supposed to catch it. But his overall efficiency has been wonderful. And I know there was a group that really wanted him to run in that football against Florida. I was in that group. But I think overall, past that, it's been really impressive to see how he's been able to orchestrate this offense and really just, take over for Mac Jones and do such a great job. I mean, 15 touchdowns on the season with 1 interception. Really impressive. I want to get this from you. What do you think about the backup quarterback spot behind Bryce Young, Paul Tyson, Jalen Milroe? Tyson's played in 4 games. Jalen Milroe's played in 3. Last night, Jalen Milroe threw his first touchdown pass. It was a 24-yard touchdown pass. I honestly feel that Jalen Milroe, probably one of the best runners on this team. I think, and Coach Saban has said this before, he's still in the developmental stage of his passing game. But man, that guy is so athletic. It's incredible. So I want to continue to track the progress of him. Paul Tyson on the season, 4 of 7, 107 yards passing. You kind of look to the big arm of Paul Tyson. And I think, I'd be curious to get your take on those 2 quarterbacks, kind of where they stand right now. Now, look, I want to ask you an honest question about the Alabama receivers. Hey, Mick, are you there? I think Mick's still working. Mick, you look like you're muted. Let me ask you this. Look, how
about now?
I can hear you.
All right.
I want to ask you this before we get to this next point and see if we can resolve our issues from the call-in. But John Mechie has 24 receptions for 240 yards with 1 touchdown. Okay, he's averaging 10 yards per catch. Jameson Williams, 12 receptions, 299 yards, averaging 24.9 yards per catch. And then it's Slade Bolden. He has 9 receptions for 90 yards. This is my question. I honestly want to know this, and I'm not dogging on John Mechie, but do you feel that John Mechie lacks the speed that we've had in the past from Alabama receivers? It seems to me that John Mechie doesn't have that second gear. I kind of remember an interview with him talking about Jalen Waddle and Jalen Waddle's speed and a lot of that being genetics. Look, John Mechie is a quality receiver. I just feel that he's not as fast as the receivers that Alabama has had prior, right? And maybe this goes for a lot of the receivers on the board. I mean, you could say the same thing about Slade Bolden. I don't think he's a burner. I mean, JoJo Earl, I think he has really good agility side to side, but I don't think he's the fastest in straightaway situations. Jaleel Billingsley, same thing. Mismatch on the outside, but he's not a burner. Same with Trayshawn Holden. And I know kind of down here it says that these guys have had receptions. It looks like the statistical person has mismatched the numbers. So, Jalen Armour Davis, for example, he hasn't recorded a reception, in Henry To'oTo'o. I think they just reversed the numbers. So To'oTo'o, number 10, would be on the offensive side. But anyways, you get my point, what I'm talking about with kind of the lack of speed. Mick, where we at, buddy?
Yeah, I think we're ready to go. I think we got to figure it out. Let's try one, see if it works.
Okay.
All right. And look, the last call from Dallas, call back. As soon as I see you on there, I'm going to flip you on. All right, let's see if it works. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Sean from Huntsville.
Sean, can you hear him, Kyle?
Yes.
All right.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. How you guys doing, Mick, Kyle? How you doing, man?
Doing great, man. Doing great.
Hey, Sean, can you hear me?
So listen, the caller that just called before he got cut off from Dallas, I guess I'm a different type fan, man, and I would never ask nobody to be like me. I'm different. You know what I mean? I do say whatever your opposite of relax is. To relax on this team is not good at all. I can guarantee you, Coach Saban say the same thing. And what the disturbing part, the concerning part for me is everything that I've seen that we don't do quite well at the moment. This team does just the opposite on offense well to counteract that. I'm hoping, man. The 3-4. I told you guys even last year. I love it and all of that, but tempo hurts us a lot. Especially when we don't have that one super dog up front. The 3-4 worried me against this team because it's predicated on the middle linebackers making most of the tackles. The responsibility is the nose tackle, the 2 defensive ends. they play leverage. It's up to the middle linebackers to make all these tackles and cover the tight ends coming out of the backfield. So it worries me. It concerns me against this team. We had an issue in the Florida game and getting the calls in faster. I mean, it was several times when Henry To'oTo'o was still looking to the sideline while Florida was snapping the ball. Man,
right.
We cannot do that in this game. I promise you that's we got to clean that up, and I'm sure they will. Jerrion Ely, you know what I mean, and Matt Corral's legs. Those are the real big concerns I have for this team. You got to remember, man, Lane went against us for 3 years, every day in practice, went against that D. He knows what hurts us.
Right.
He knows what we don't do well. He knows what Coach Saban tried to stay away from. And he's going to throw the kitchen sink at us, man. But I will agree with what you said earlier, Mick. I don't think their defense has played the offense as well as Bama's, you know what I mean? But it worries me that Will Anderson is really the only person getting constant pressure. I think Phil Mathis is playing a lot better. I think DJ Dale need to step his game up, man. You know, I see him getting pushed off the line of scrimmage in one-on-one isolation blocks so much. And it's very, very, very concerning for me, man. You know, I'm not used to seeing Bama getting whipped up front like that, getting moved. Not necessarily whipped, but it's very different to see our D-line getting moved off the ball like that.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very concerned about that, guys. I really am. Remember, man, this team is probably going to have the best quarterback that we probably will see all season in regular season. Matt Corral is a dog, brother. I promise you, he's a dog. He understands how to attack. So I'm hoping we don't sit in that zone all day and let this guy just cut us apart. So I'm real interested in see what the defensive game plan is. I'm not really worried about the offense. The defense is really, really, really what concerns me. But, you know, wanted to see what you guys' take is on that. But those are my concerns. The defense, hopefully getting pressure on this guy, because you can't blitz a guy like Matt Corral a lot.
Mm-mm.
If you blitz him, if you don't get there, he's off to the races.
Yeah.
That's why Saban don't blitz on third and long a lot. So you got to be real careful and pick your spots where you blitz at on a guy like that.
Yeah.
Getting the defensive calls in faster and his legs, those are my concerns. I'll hang up and listen to what you guys say. And as always, Kyle, Mick, I appreciate you guys taking my call, and I will always continue to support.
Hey, love you, Sean. Thanks for calling in, man, really.
No problem, guys.
Yeah, look, I'm going to say this. You go back to the Florida game, there was a play in there where Alabama's got Florida first and 99, right? And then it's third down and, I don't know, like 10 or whatever. And instead of just going for the tackle and forcing a punt, we go for the interception and they get the first down, right? And that kind of opened the door to what happened, right? And that ignited the Gators offense. Ole Miss is going to get some points. They're going to get theirs in this game, but they're not going to run up and down the field on Alabama. I just don't think. I think that they're going to score. It's going to be loud at Bryant-Denny Stadium. It's not a home game for them. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to be the team that's going to have a hard time getting their plays in. The speed of the game is going to be different than any of the other games that they played, and they're going to be intimidated by the environment. You know, like that's just what's going to happen. You know, it's how Alabama starts that's going to be so important. You know, like we don't know about Ole Miss's defense, but I cannot imagine that they're able to totally redo that offense. They lost Jock Jones, who was from Tuscaloosa, by the way, was their leading tackler last year, linebacker. He goes to Kentucky. You know, they have some players. You know, they got the guy from Maryland. They got some other guys that transferred in, but they don't have depth. I mean, this is still the same core from last year on defense. I got a feeling that Alabama is going to freight train them early, and they're going to be trying to play catch up. But look, they're going to do some things as well, and this is going to be like I think a track meet. But you know what? I'm really not too worried about Alabama's offense against their defense. And I think that Alabama has a much bigger advantage offense to defense comparing Ole Miss to Alabama's defense. Maybe I'm wrong for thinking that, but you know, I don't know. That's just my gut feeling. All right, let's go back to the phones and talk. And again, man, I appreciate all you guys calling in. All right, who's this and where are you calling from?
Mick, this is Kevin from Dallas, Georgia.
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for calling back.
And I apologize as far as the double dipping. It's just a matter that I had to approach the bench, Your Honor, in reference to Sean. And it's just that when I made the statement, relax, it was just in regards to this team defensively, as far as talent is concerned, is better than last year. And the benchmarks, as far as I always break seasons down in quarters. The first quarter of the season will be Saturday and A&M. Then you break it as far as the next 3 games as well as the following 3 games. So am I concerned? Always concerned, but not worried, because when it comes to defense, this will be the best defense that Ole Miss will see this season. So the concern shouldn't just be as far as Ole Miss's offense versus Alabama's defense.
Right.
But the concern should also be Ole Miss's defense versus Alabama's offense.
Right. I agree. I mean, that's what I just said. I mean, the advantage that Alabama is going to have, Alabama's going to look, Ole Miss is going to get theirs. We know that. But you know what? Alabama's defense is going to make plays that Ole Miss's defense isn't capable of making. They don't have the same type of playmakers on defense. Now, they don't have the same speed on defense. They're not going to be as good tackling. They're going to be in an environment that should be ruckus. And I said this last night, and I believe this. If someone is going to this game and they're not going to make noise and cheer, if they want to sit down, they should sit down at their house and sell their tickets to other Alabama fans that want to make this a rough environment. This is one of the biggest games of the season. And it could be one of the biggest games of the season when the season's over, because sometimes we think it's the biggest game of the season and it come to find out it's not, you know. But in the West, this is a very, very good Ole Miss team. And Lane Kiffin has Alabama's playbook, and there's no doubt about it. And he last year was able to anticipate every single move that Alabama made, and they still lost, and they still lost by double digits, right? So he's dangerous. We have a lot of respect for him, but I agree. I feel like Ole Miss's defense is going to be outmatched by Alabama's offense, and I think that's going to be the biggest mismatch in this game.
And one other point I just want to interject as far as a possible wild card, Mick, and that is if Ole Miss don't use Plumlee needs to see that field probably a half a dozen to 10 times. If the Plumlee dynamic could help Ole Miss as far as this game being more than competitive, but if Plumlee sees the field as much as he did last year in Oxford, then there's no other way to say it. Ole Miss is done, Mick.
Yes, I agree. Hey, look, if Ole Miss falls behind Alabama like Florida did, unfortunately for them, they're going to find out exactly what happens, like, you know, when you watch Cobra Kai, you know, mercy. There's going to be no mercy for them. You know, you ever watch Karate Kid?
Exactly.
No mercy. Alabama will Cobra Kai them if they get ahead, and they will keep scoring, and they will be relentless, and they will attack. They will attack Corral. And this is why I think that's why the spread started at 17.5. It's down to 15. There's a chance that Ole Miss could absolutely get the doors blown off of them. And I think the game really is going to turn early, where if Ole Miss falls behind early, they're in deep trouble. If they hold on or they have the early lead. Remember last year they scored a touchdown. I didn't even sit down yet and they were up 7-0. You know, if Lane Kiffin will have some plays, and if they're able to attack early and score right out of the chute and get the lead, we could be in a track meet. But I think the first quarter of this football game is really pivotal, and we'll see kind of how everything transpires from there. But Ole Miss, it's really pivotal for Ole Miss, because if they fall behind, it could be a long afternoon.
Again, thanks, Mick, for indulging me. Greatly appreciate it. Enjoy the show and look forward to touching base with y'all next week.
Hey, love it, man. Thanks for calling in, and thanks for calling back. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but I think we got them figured out. All right, let's go back to the phones, guys. I'm going to get all of you in. So as you hang out with us, like and subscribe, hit the bell, hit the thumbs up. I see, you know, almost 300 of you here hanging out. Make sure you all give us a thumbs up. That's a way to say Roll Tide. 205-850-0883. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Yes, Roll Tide, Mick and Kyle. This is Jarvis calling from Texas.
Jarvis, what's up, man?
Just still in awe of that electric win and electric atmosphere of Bryant-Denny last night, and finally excited that we can finally set our sights on this Ole Miss game that we've been looking forward to since a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, like Kyle, how many times has Kyle accused me of rat poison? And he's exactly right. Like waiting for this game. I didn't even think last night's game was such a speed bump. And just it was like a tune up to get ready for this. And now it's finally here. I'm excited. I mean, this is what college football is supposed to be about.
I couldn't agree more, Mick. And one thing that you say that I've been wanting to, I can't wait to see is the atmosphere at Bryant-Denny. I think this Saturday, I don't think we will have seen this stadium this raucous since the 2019 LSU game. I think this stadium is going to be. I don't think Ole Miss is ready for what they're about to face fan-wise. And I think Jamison Williams might be really our biggest weapon in this game. I think we need to find even more ways to get the ball in his hands, reverses, sweeps, even from the backfield, running back position. I think he needs to touch the ball at least 10 to 15 times this Saturday as well.
Hey, look, I loved watching him return kicks. In the post-game show last night, I was going back. I had to use some of my old school Alabama football knowledge and kind of try to compare him to some of the greats that we've seen returning kicks for Alabama. Christian Jones, you remember him? I mean, I caught some of his high school games, and he was so good. But Javi Arenas is my favorite kick returner that Alabama's ever had. I mean, just watching Javi, I mean, it's like, that first step, and then he would just blow right by you. And look, Jamison, man, I mean, like I may have to start doing a shot at Jamison every time the guy scores a touchdown. Set the record. He set the record, like 2 kickoff returns and a catch for a touchdown. I mean, what a game.
Yeah, Mick, I think he was looking ahead to Ole Miss too, because he wanted to go ahead and end Southern Miss immediately. As soon as the ball hit his hands, he wanted to go ahead and put this game out of the way and get to next week, I feel.
Yeah. Have you ever done Jamison? When I was in Arizona, they were doing this at one of the bars I was at. Jamison, and then you chase it with pickle juice. I know that sounds crazy, but for any of you guys that are out there, try it sometimes. I'm not a big pickle juice guy, but when you do like the one, it was like a 1-2 combo, kind of like watching him return those kicks last night. I was absolutely floored by the fact that it was good. Yeah, but he's, seriously, he's a weapon, and he's a difference maker in the special teams.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Mick. And hearing Coach Saban's press game conference, I've never heard Coach Saban refer to one single player as a dog. When he called Jamison Williams a dog, that dog mentality. I mean, I like his energy. He plays hard. I mean, he never takes a play off. So, and also, I feel like he's the second coming of Jalen Waddle, JW and JW. I mean, I never thought I'd see another player like that this soon, but I think it's really like the second coming of Jalen Waddle for us.
Yeah, well, his speed is like that. And you know what? He was smart to get out of Ohio State. Maybe he sensed what was going on there because it's not the same Ohio State. You can kind of feel them slipping a little bit back towards the pack. But, Alabama doesn't go out and get transfers a lot, but when they do, it seems like they really hit on these guys. And he's right up there as one of the best transfers that I can remember in the Nick Saban era.
I mean, I couldn't agree more, Mick. And as far as the game itself, just looking at it, I do think that Ole Miss hasn't played a team anywhere near the level of what we are. Everyone's looking at the offense and everything, but they haven't played anyone of any substance so far. We'll definitely be their toughest test. I think our run game, we need to hit 200 yards, 150 to 200 yards rushing to keep them honest. And I don't want us to get behind in the game too, especially within 2 scores or so. If we can, keep within a 1-score game, I like our chances a lot better because I don't want to see if we do get down 2 scores. I guess we'll see how we respond if that did happen, but I don't think they'll be able to handle us defensively, like you said. The atmosphere is going to be crazy. I think there will be a lot of miscues. Lane, he does worry me the most about any other assistant because he seems to have our number, even though he hasn't beaten us. With Tennessee, with the less talented Tennessee team, we had to have a blocked field goal at Bryant-Denny to beat him. So
I was there.
He's always a tricky matchup for us. It's like he's so close to beating us, but so I'm just glad that this game is at home. We have last year to go out for us, and we have all the negativity we've heard so far this season. For us to be number 1, we're a flawed number 1 team. we have not played a full game to this point. So I'm looking for a full 60-minute fight. And if we can hold Ole Miss to 21 points or less and come out with the win, I think the whole college football world will be on notice that our defense and Nick Saban will be just fine going forward.
Yeah. Hey, Jarvis, great call, man.
All right. Thanks, Mick. I'll let you get to somebody else, but roll tide, and we'll call back.
All right, roll tide. Always great to hear from Jarvis. And, man, I'll tell you what, right now, Texas is just absolutely killing it on the phone lines. I mean, 2 great calls from the Lone Star State. And a lot of Alabama fans over in Texas right now. But we're going to stay in Alabama for this call. Who's this and where are you calling from?
That's Jeff. Roll tide.
Roll tide, Jeff.
How you doing? How you doing, Nick? What's up? What do you think about this game coming up? I think it's going to be a door blower, because I don't think they're expecting the atmosphere of Alabama. I mean, yeah, we played them, and then they keep forgetting, well, we beat them last year in their stadium. So, and they're coming to our stadium. So I just think it's going to be a door blower. I just see it that way. I mean, we got too much depth on our team. I mean, we got Latsu, we got Williamson, we got who else? We got Bryce, of course. We got Royadale Williams. We got Chase McClellan. We got who else? So many to name. I mean, just like the backup quarterback pretty much threw a touchdown last night and got one. So
yeah, I love seeing that. Yeah, Jalen Melrose with a little touch on that pass, and finally Javon Baker. Right, it was good to see. I've been waiting for some Javon Baker, the touchdown maker. Come on, man.
They've been talking about the whole time. Yeah, he got some action. I thought he would never get some action. I was like, man, he's got to get something going here. And when he got in the game, I was like, oh, yeah, I like this. So, but what people are talking about right now is 14 little points what was that, the third-string defense let them score or something? Because
right.
That wasn't the dog mentality defense in there. That wasn't the first string. That was like the third string, wasn't it? Or something like that. I mean, if I'm not mistaken.
Look, I'm not going to take away from the fact that they scored, but when you give up 63 and you score 14, you had a terrible day. You know what I mean? Like
I guess you did.
Yeah.
But what the dog fans are talking about? The dog fans are talking about. Well, they beat our team 60. You beat Vandy. Come on, man. That's the equivalent of what was it? A little varsity school or something like that. Vandy. What they have? They haven't done nothing in 15 years.
God, there's
something like that.
Since
when was the last time Vandy did something?
When they had James Franklin. Like they have been terrible forever, and they got James Franklin, and then all of a sudden they were a legit SEC program, and they should have thrown every dollar they had into the football program to keep James Franklin and build that stadium and do the things that he asked to help get better football players in there. And instead, he rolled out. And, he's doing things in Penn State, and who knows, maybe he's going to be the next USC coach.
Yeah. Well, he beat Auburn already. I mean, that was, I don't care who beats Auburn. A dog can beat Auburn for all I care. I don't like them at all. But yeah, I think that Ole Miss is. I think Ole Miss fans are overconfident. Do you agree with that one? I think they really are. I think they're just thinking that they're going to come into Alabama and Matt Corral and his legs are going to steamroll Alabama. But that's not going to happen, because if that's the only thing that you really got going for you, besides maybe a running back and a wide receiver, and that's it, I mean, that's not going to help you. I mean, Alabama's defense is going to stop that. You can forget that. And if he can't run, then he's going to have to stay in the pocket and throw. And that'll bring Will in. He'll get to him, and it'll be a long day for Ole Miss. That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, I don't think it'll be a shootout. I think it'll be a door blower. I think it'll be over in the first quarter. Yeah. I mean,
well, I'll tell you this, Jeff. Yeah.
You know me.
Yeah, I know you. Look, last comment, but I'm going to say this before you get there. I really believe this. If Alabama gets out on them early like they did against Florida, look out.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be one of those games where Ole Miss is going to get punished. The first quarter of that football game, Lane Kiffin's going to throw the sink at Alabama because he knows the same thing that I know. Is that defense, even I love DJ Durkin. I'm telling you right now, DJ Durkin, the defensive coordinator is great. He is a great defensive coordinator. Lane Kiffin went out and he hired excellent coaches to work with him, but the coaches don't play the game. They can tell players where to be, but the talent level on that defense is not going to match Alabama's offense. And Alabama doesn't make mistakes. They haven't made mistakes this year. Their offensive line, to me, has been a little bit better than average. It really hasn't held up to the standard of Alabama offensive lines, but Bryce Young makes up for it with his ability to move in the pocket and get rid of the ball. And so they just got to honestly just get out and get that early lead and then put the offense in a spot where they can run the football. Because if we can run the football with the pass game, I think that it could be a long day for Ole Miss. I really do. All right, final thoughts, Jeff.
It's going to be a long day for Ole Miss anyway. My final thoughts. All right. Ole Miss is coming to our house. Everybody knows this. And like I said, we beat them in their house last year. So they're hungry for a win against us in our house because it wouldn't even make them feel good or something. I don't know. But Matt Corral is not going to be able to handle our defense for 4 quarters straight. People can talk about our defense all they want to, but Saban has another week to get that team ready to go. And Brian Denny, and believe me, he don't want to be embarrassed in front of millions and millions of people on TV, everywhere else. And he's going to have that team ready to go. So when we play Ole Miss, get out front fast, punch them in the mouth quick, make them bleed a little bit, and then keep going from there. Just put your foot on the gas. And don't take your foot off the gas and keep going. Keep going until there's nothing left of Ole Miss. And we're singing Ramadammer and Brian Denny. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Great call, Jeff. All right, let's go back to the phone lines again and get your perspective. And guys, remember, thumbs up, subscribe as you hang out with us on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. We're talking Alabama and Ole Miss, getting ready for a huge showdown at Bryant-Denny Stadium coming up next Saturday at 2:30. Who's this and where you calling from?
It's Robert from Mobile again.
What's up, Robert?
Hey, your last caller, I know you just, talking smack. And it's good to talk smack. But there's no way this game's going to be over in the first quarter. That's just not going to happen. Ole Miss's defense is better than it was last year, and the offense is better than they were last year. And Alabama last year, and Alabama's offense was one of the best of all time. The best in Alabama history and one of the best of all time history. And we still barely beat that team. And Ole Miss's our defense was gave up 40-odd points to South Carolina last year. Well, I wouldn't bet on Ole Miss's defense giving up South Carolina 40-something points this year. So it's not going to be that easy. Like your previous caller said, we're the best team Ole Miss has played by a mile. I mean, the team they played so far, the first 3 teams they played, they didn't come right near Alabama as far as talent and as far as talent goes. So Alabama's been tested. They've been tested against Florida in the swamp. I mean, that was a horrible environment for the team, and they came out on top of it anyway. So we've been battle tested. Ole Miss has yet to be. The team, the hardest, toughest team they played all season has been Louisville. And that's Louisville. Yeah, that's the best team they played all season, Louisville. So they haven't been tested yet. However, but they have improved. I mean, last year's team those games would have been a lot closer, even against Louisville, because the defense was so terrible. So they've improved on that front. But so far they haven't been tested. And like one of the previous calls said, Matt Corral will be the best quarterback Alabama will see the entire season.
Yeah.
So how the defense plays against him can guide us through the rest of the season. If we have a good showing against him, then there's no better quarterback out there for the rest of the season. In nowhere. So that is going to be huge. And I think this game again decides who's going to win the West and who's going to win the Heisman Trophy. The person will be elevated to that level, I think, at that point. But it's not going to be easy. It's going to be, like Nick Saban keeps saying, hey, this is why those 4 and 5 came into Alabama to play in games like this.
Robert, did I lose you?
Hello?
Okay, Robert, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, look, man, I feel like I just really feel like, and I'm going to go back to it again. But first, I want to remind everyone that's hanging out with us, thumbs up, subscribe, whether you're an Alabama fan or just a college football fan. We really appreciate you guys being with us here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel as we talk about the Crimson Tide and Ole Miss. Got a lot of respect for Ole Miss. And I mean, I think that there's a bigger chance that Ole Miss could get blown out by Alabama in this environment. Just remember a couple of years ago, Alabama destroyed these guys. And I agree with you exactly on, Louisville struggled against Florida State. They won. They got a big lead and then they held on, right? I don't know. They're not that good of a team. They're okay. They're like middle of the pack. Alabama's the best of the best. Ole Miss has to play a perfect game and Alabama has to make mistakes for Ole Miss to win. Lane Kiffin's going to draw up these plays and they're going to score. They're going to move the ball. They're going to do stuff. And it's still, even last year when they had everything going in their direction and they caught Alabama by surprise, they still didn't win. Now, I agree. Last year's offense might be the best offense ever. It could be. I'm not arguing. You had all of those guys that could have went pro that came back. Mac Jones and his touch on the deep ball was amazing. But I'm going to say this. The guy on the screen right there, Bryce Young, does things that Mac Jones couldn't do. The way that he moves around the pocket, he threw his deep ball last night. To Williams. I think he's just as accurate as Mac, maybe more. And I like the way that the guy is able to, and they're both great. I'm not putting Mac down. I'm just telling you, Bryce Young is just an amazing talent under center. He hasn't really run yet, but when he needs to, you watch, he'll be able to do that too. I don't want him to run. I've said this before. I don't want him getting hurt.
Yeah, I do agree with you. With like I said, the game yesterday was just, it's almost a perfect game. I hate he had to eat the interception. That wasn't his fault. And like you said, as a true leader, he focused on what he could have done better. Versus, some guys will say, well, yeah, that happens in the game before, the thing about the shift. Bryce didn't even put that much blame on Jameson Williams. He just said, hey, I could have thrown the ball, making it more catchable. So he didn't even throw that much on Jameson Williams. How that it sometimes happens. He tried taking the complete blame himself, and that's what a real leader does. So he's definitely showing great leadership, and he's showing great vision down the field. And everything's improving. There's no question about it. And he'll and some of the plays he made yesterday, even Mac wouldn't have made. Some of the plays were just outstanding. But again, this is going to, I think this is going to be the toughest game of the season till we play Georgia. If we can play this guy, if we can, like Queen previous call said, if we can hold this team, and that's the thing that big bothers us the most is the defense. Is okay, guys, the things you let other teams do, Ole Miss can do even better. So you have to clean those things up because you're going to play a team that can do it even more.
Right.
With this quarterback, you think that quarterback gas you up the middle, this quarterback can do it even more.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to the linebackers have to get better and play better to keep this game, to try to hold this team down. But it could charge, and I think it may turn into another shootout. I hope it doesn't, but it looks like it probably will.
Well, look,
all right, man, great talking with you.
Always, Robert, always great to talk to you. Roll Tide, man. And I'm going to just kind of follow up on something and then get to the next call. Man. But look, here's the thing, and Robert's always a great call when he jumps on with us. Guys, thumbs up and subscribe as you hang out. That's a way to say Roll Tide. as we talk about Alabama and Ole Miss. Alabama's defense, we're starting to see some guys get in there. That's Nick Saban said that after the Florida game, and it's going to happen. The most important thing is for those guys to know what they're supposed to do, because it's going to make other players better. I don't know enough about football to know, hey, is To'o, is it that he's not doing his thing, or is it that he's trying to help someone else do theirs and then he's not doing his thing as well as he should be? But when these young players start to figure out these schemes and where they're supposed to be, the talent's there. And it's going to be really, really exciting to see just how good potentially this Alabama defense can be by the end of the season. I still believe that they're really good. But you know what? The way that college football is these days, it's set up for the offense to succeed and the defense to fail. And that's just kind of the way it is. All right, who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Demetrius from North Carolina.
Hey, what's up?
I can't kill nothing, won't nothing die. Trying to keep my head above water. Yeah, I just want to call and chime in on the upcoming game. I believe it's going to be a competitive game. What I'm looking for in the team is for somebody, for whether it be the offense, defense, offensive line, or defensive line, secondary. What it's that time of the year for somebody to step up and take the lead and be the leader of the team. And it passed. Last year it took a while for our defense to start coming around. It's gonna come around, and plus I'm tired of these Georgia Bulldog fans talking that sideways, talking to me already this year. And I'm just looking for the team to start gelling together better, each game. And I believe it's gonna be a competitive game. Of course, I think we're gonna win by double digits. But I don't believe it's just gonna be a runaway. That's just my humble opinion. But that's all I want to just chime in on that. I'm just looking for the team to start molding together. Cause it's that time of the year for somebody to come up with pretty much somebody to have an identity.
Yeah.
The team to make its own identity for this year right here.
Well, I'll tell you what, their identity last night was kicking ass. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, 63-14. They didn't play to the score. They didn't play down to the opponent. They looked focused. They were great on special teams, which has become a signature of Nick Saban football. The defense, I thought the defense, when you only give up 14 points in this day and age of football, that's good. And the offense right there, led by Bryce Young. I mean, it's like he just is such a smart quarterback. He doesn't make a lot of bad decisions. And you know what? This game coming up on Saturday, could separate him from Matt Corral. We may be talking about Bryce Young as the guy for the Heisman and not Matt Corral at the end of that game. It could go the other way. Matt Corral's the leader right now. I mean, and we're going into week 5. So, I mean, it's not like, we're at the end of the season, but it's still fun to follow it. And Bryce Young, as far as Vegas is concerned, is right there. Alabama's lucky that they have been able to, stack these amazing quarterbacks on top of each other. But we knew when Bryce Young came to Alabama, when he signed, that he was going to be special. And I got to tell you, I mean, he's just lived up and surpassed the hype. And that's hard to do when you're an Alabama recruit.
You are correct on that. You are very correct.
Well, Demetrius, always great to hear from you. Where are you at right now? You in the truck?
I'm on my way to the truck.
Are you?
On my way to the truck. So, roll tide and let's get ready to kick some ass Saturday.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Great call. Be careful on the roads. And let's do it again next Sunday night. All right, let's go back to the phones again. I'm going to try to get these last couple calls in before we close up shop tonight to watch a little Sunday night football. Who's this and where are you calling from?
My name is Robert Fisher. What up?
What's up? Where are you from, Robert?
I'm a roll tide, brother, roll tide.
Roll Tide.
I'm kind of from Adel, Iowa, in Iowa. My question is for you is, what is Brian Robinson Jr. Is he okay?
Yeah, great question, Robert. Is Brian Robinson okay? I think Brian Robinson is going to be all right. I mean, Nick Saban said he was banged up. He didn't seem too concerned about it. Going into this game, the game that we just had Saturday, it was the perfect opportunity to do a couple of things, right? First off, it was a great opportunity to get Brian Robinson rest. He's kind of been Alabama's battering ram running back. He's carried the bulk of the load, and he's done a nice job of just taking hits, punishing opponents, and securing the football, right? He gets the week off. Loved seeing Roydell Williams play a lot. How good did he look? I think that Jace McClellan is a future star, if not a star now. We saw Trey Sanders get into the football game. All of those guys did a nice job and really showed exactly why they're at Alabama. And I mean, we don't even have Kamar Wheaton right now, and I'm not really sure what his injury is or what the situation is, but he hasn't played, but those four guys have. And I think that Brian Robinson is going to be back and ready to go for this game against Ole Miss.
Yeah, I hope he will be back. You take care. I love your YouTube show. You take care. Roll Tide, buddy.
Hey, Roll Tide, buddy. Right back at you, Robert. Great to hear from you. And, have a great night, man. Call again. We're going to do it again next Sunday night. And, of course, after the football game, we will jump right back on it as well. All right, let's go back to the phone lines again and talk a little Alabama Ole Miss. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, Mick, it's Parker.
Parker from Pensacola.
Yeah, and I will be in T-Town on Saturday.
Oh, man. You're coming in for the big game, huh?
Me and a coworker driving up. My dad lives in Birmingham, and so we're going to go up and just stay with my dad for the weekend and then drive over. And I'm nervous about this game.
You're nervous about it?
But I mean, I've had good luck at Alabama. Pretty much all the games I've gone to at Bryant-Denny, we've won. Besides, the only one that I can remember that we lost was Louisiana Monroe.
I was at that one, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was when Saban was like.
That was like Saban's like first
going.
year, right? Wasn't it? That was like 2007. I mean, we had just clobbered. I want to say it was Tennessee the week before, but remember we had the issue with the textbooks where the players were selling the textbooks, and Nick had to suspend all of those guys. It was actually before the Tennessee game, but it really showed its head against Louisiana Monroe, and I mean. Nick Saban's reaction to that loss was priceless. He made everyone mad by comparing it to 9/11, and I knew what he was saying.
Using the word compare.
I know, but you know what? It was like one of those things where people were being too sensitive. I mean, you know what he was saying. Sometimes people we go overboard a little bit with our comparisons. He wasn't really comparing those two things. He was just saying in our world that is it's a monumental. It's a monumental event. It was very.
Do you remember who was quarterback that year?
I think it was John Parker, wasn't it?
Was it? Was it JP?
Yeah, I think it was John Parker. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, I think it was JP.
But yeah, I'm really excited to be in T-Town, and I haven't been to a game in probably since one of the 8A games a couple of years ago. But yeah, So we're already favored to win by like, I think the line is what, like 14 right now?
It's 15 and a half. It's down. I mean, people are jumping on Ole Miss and putting a lot of money that way. When you see the line drop 2 points that fast, they're taking Ole Miss, they're taking the points, and they're taking the over right now.
So with Ole Miss coming in, they get to call the toss on Saturday. Do you think that what do you think if Saban wins the toss Saturday, what do you think he does?
Look, I think if you're Alabama, you go on offense right away and attack, because I really feel like if Alabama gets ahead of Ole Miss in this game, Ole Miss is in deep trouble. I just don't think that I don't think it's going to be a repeat of Florida where Alabama's going to be up by 18 and then stub their toe. I think Alabama gets up, and I think they just keep on trucking. Florida's got much better defenders than Ole Miss. Ole Miss has a much better offense than Florida, right? So, but that doesn't necessarily translate into more points, because they're going to be the ones that are going to have a tough time hearing. They're going to be the ones because you're going to be there, Parker. You're going to be getting the crowd up. You better do I want you to do the raise the roof for me a couple of times. And,
can we turn down for what?
Yeah, turn down for what, man? I love being at the games with people that are just amped the entire time. And I don't know why. I've always enjoyed those type of fans, because that's what makes it fun, and this is an environment like we saw down in Florida. They killed it. You know what? The fans kept them in the game and really turned the tide in that game, and Alabama won. But the fans, even when they were down 21-3, were still making it tough on Alabama. I think that we need to return the favor to Ole Miss this week.
One more thing, and I'll let you jump. But I mean, one thing I love listening to, the pregame show on the network, on the radio, and I love when Chris Stewart has Rashad Johnson on, their sideline reporter. That man knows his stuff. Yeah,
he does. Chris is one of my dear friends. We work together doing baseball on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. We had such a good time. He just makes you laugh so much, and he's a great broadcaster.
10 seconds, so our local stations can identify themselves to you.
Yep.
Well, I love when I wish there was an opportunity that I could meet like Chris and some of the radio, because I really look up to those guys.
Yeah. Well, he's very approachable. Trust me. We used to, Parker, great call. We would leave the baseball stadium after games, and I would want to, sometimes we would go get something to eat, or go get a drink or something. I mean, and Chris would stop and talk to everybody. I mean, it would be like, hey, Chris, it'd be like, oh, let's go, But that's just who he is. He just enjoys talking to people. He's very approachable. He's a great guy. I was so worried.
He just sounds like one of those guys. He sounds like one of those guys who you would just see off the air as he's the same way on the air.
Exactly. That's exactly how he was. When he was sick, we almost lost him a couple of years ago. I was so worried about it. I just was, just like everyone else, I was praying so hard that he would be all right. And I'm so glad he is.
Remember that game that Eli was out with COVID and Chris had to do the play-by-play?
Yes. I thought he did a great job.
But Roll Tide, and are you going to be at the game Saturday?
Yeah, I'll be there. Look, if you're Friday night, we're doing our pregame show, the BamaInsider tailgate show, 6 to 8 from Innisfree. They're telling me that Innisfree is going to be wild on Friday with a bunch of other national shows that'll be there. Then we'll be on from 6 to 8. So, yeah, swing by. And then after the game, we'll be on right here, the BamaInsider YouTube channel with the post-game show from Westgate Luxury Condominiums. Hey, Parker, thank you, man. Great to talk. And Roll Tide. Have an awesome trip, okay? Yeah, come see me Friday night if you're there. Would love to meet you.
Actually, I'll be in town Saturday. I'm driving up from Birmingham on Saturday.
Okay.
Morning, so.
All right. Well, have a safe trip, okay?
All right, brother.
All right, brother. See ya.
See ya. Roll Tide.
All right, who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on? It's Jim from Huntsville.
What's up, Jim?
Yeah, how's it going?
It's good.
I just, I'm really not that worried about the Ole Miss game. I think we're going to be all right. Like everybody was talking about Matt Corral last season, and when he finally faced a defense with a pulse, he threw 6 interceptions. So I guess we just need to see what he does against an actual defense first, But right now, they look pretty good. I think their run game is actually a little bit underrated. And I'm more worried about the Arkansas game towards the end of the season than Ole Miss, honestly. How is Arkansas somehow – they look way more physical than we do, if I'm just being honest.
Yeah, I watched that one too. That's the only game that I didn't win of the 4 that I picked this week because – and I thought – I definitely think Sam Pittman has this is what I think about Arkansas. I think Sam Pittman and his staff are better than most of the teams in the country at evaluating high school players and then getting them to come to Arkansas. And what I mean by that is Arkansas is not beating Alabama, Georgia, LSU, the big time schools for the blue chip guys. So then what do you have? You have this group of players, this big group of players that are good, but they're not elite, like they're 3 stars. And so I'm sure some 2 stars, maybe a 4-star here and there. I haven't even looked at their board, but I'm guessing this. And then Sam Pittman and his staff are able to go identify the type of player that they want and then really go after those guys and bring them in and then coach them up. I mean, what he's done is honestly amazing. Arkansas went 2 years without winning a conference game. Last year, we figured they would lose every single game, or they could. They won 3, and they were in a bunch. And then this year, they've gone into Texas, and they have just curb stomped the 2 big Texas programs. And look, I know it was, a 10-point game or whatever. They physically manhandled Texas A&M. Now, A&M's offense stinks, but you know what? Their quarterback's good. Their running back's good, but it's the offensive and defensive line, the physicality that they play with at that line of scrimmage that you're right. I think that, honestly, their quarterback was a little bit banged up, and I think that they are going to have some trouble with Georgia this week. And I think that their run's going to end. I mean, they're not going to beat Georgia. But with that said, I don't think they'll beat Alabama either. And I think part of it is that by the time you get to the end of the season, they don't have the depth. They take injuries, and it's not going to look exactly the same as it does now. With that said, this is a program on the rise. And it's because of Sam Pittman. They went out and hit a grand slam with their coaching hire.
Yeah, I tell you what, Arkansas is a program with an identity now. That coaching, that turnaround with that program is the best I've seen since 2013 Auburn, where they finally found an identity and ran with it. Same thing is happening right here, and I mean, I think Sam Pittman and Barry Odom, I'd be worried if
Jim, you there? Jim, I think we lost you. But look, a great call from Jim. And guys, he's right about Arkansas. Let me close it up with this. And as you hang out, like, subscribe, give me the thumbs up. Let me remind you that tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, Monday Night Quarterback, Tony Tsoukalas, sometimes Kyle Henderson, sometimes Andrew Bone, but the entire crew, maybe Trey Yannity. I told Trey yesterday I missed him being on Monday Night Quarterback. We had a fun time at the Westgate for the post-game show, but we'll be doing that tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Kyle will have all of the Nick Saban and Alabama press conferences, Lane Kiffin included this week. Got to hear from Lane. There's going to be a lot of hype going into this game. It's almost like the Fury-Wilder fight, like that's coming up the Saturday that Alabama plays A&M. For all of you boxing fans like me, I can't wait to see these guys go at it for a third time. The hype is here for this game. So this entire week, we are going to have shows that are going to preview that. Andrew Bone is going to be on Tuesday giving an update on recruiting. This is going to be a huge recruiting week for Alabama. No doubt about it. Ole Miss is going to try to look. Lane Kiffin's trying to get into this mix for these 5-star guys and the big time blue chippers. So we'll hear from Andrew Bone on that, and the entire week we got everything covered. And don't forget, every Friday night is the Bama Insider Tailgate Show, 6 to 8. We record. It's like a live radio show. We record it, and then we play it on the radio Saturday across the state of Alabama. But it's the pregame show for Alabama football, our pregame show, and then you get to watch it live. It's like watching a live radio show being recorded. We do that on Friday night. And if you're in Tuscaloosa, come by and say hi to us at Innisfree. That's where we'll be this week, 6 to 8. Hey, thank you guys. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you for making this a really fun night. Hey, we had some technical difficulties. The system we use has changed a little bit. I don't know what the deal is, but we got it figured out. I know Kyle is, really amped about all the cool stuff that we got going on. And what we're all really, really proud of is you guys. So you make this channel what it is. It's become a thing for Alabama fans, and we appreciate it. So thumbs up and subscribe right here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Tell your Alabama friends about it too. Hey, jump on and check out our shows, comment, call in. And again, thank you for hanging out with us tonight. If I didn't get to your call tonight, don't forget, you can call Saturday after the game or call next Sunday. We start taking those calls right at 6:15. So should get in line and bring those comments. But roll tide, everybody. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll talk to you tomorrow night with Monday Night Quarterback.